H.R. 1, a big democracy reform bill to reduce the role of money in politics, to set up a system of public financing. I am a sponsor of that bill. That bill has passed the House, waiting for action in the Senate. H.R. 2 will be a bill to modernize America's roads and bridges and water systems and transit. And to not just build infrastructure, but to build middle-class, good union jobs. We will pass that bill this spring. H.R. 3, a bill called Lower Drug Costs Now. It will allow Medicare to negotiate for lower prices. And it takes so much money, not just for patients, but for Medicare as well, that we're able to expand Medicare to cover vision, hearing, and dental. I supported that bill. It has passed the House, waiting for action in the Senate. H.R. 4, a new Voting Rights Act. 1 year ago, I took my daughter Sophie to Selma, Alabama on a civil rights pilgrimage with my colleague John Lewis. We crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge where 50 years ago he was beaten and tear gassed simply for fighting for the right to vote. That work is not done. I am a sponsor of H.R. 4 to put the teeth back in the Voting Rights Act. The bill has passed the House and is waiting for action in the Senate. H.R. 5, the Equality Act, provides non-discrimination protections to the LGBTQ community. It says no one, anywhere, should face discrimination in employment or housing or anything else based on who they are or who they love. I am a sponsor of that bill. That bill has passed the House and is waiting for action in the Senate. H.R. 7, the Paycheck Fairness Act, embraces a simple ethic: equal pay for equal work. I've sponsored that bill. It's passed the House, waiting for action in the Senate. H.R. 8, universal background checks for the purchase of a weapon. I cannot count how many moments of silence were held after mass shootings with Republicans in charge. I can tell you how many moments of action there were. There were zero. That's now changed. We passed H.R. 8. I'm a sponsor of that bill. That bill has passed the House, waiting for action in the Senate. H.R. 9, Climate Action Now, to take action to re-enter the Paris Climate Agreement, to deal with lowering carbon emission standards. I'm a sponsor of bills to put a price on carbon, to get to net zero economy-wide, and a sponsor of H.R. 9. That bill has passed the House and is waiting for action in the Senate. I could talk about dozens of other bills I've sponsored and that Democrats have passed. A bill to make the minimum wage $15 per hour across our nation. The PRO Act, to make it easier to form a labor union. Bills to the Puget SOS Act, to save our sound. The Wild Olympics, to protect our natural treasures on the peninsula. All passed, all waiting for action in the Senate. And my friends, you know what's at stake this year. All of these values are on the ballot, but there's a lot more on the ballot too. We got to knock on doors for Ryan Mello and Sarah Rumbaugh. We got to make calls for Christine Kilduff and Mari Levin and pick up some seats in the 26th district. And Speaker of the House. I'm on your ballot, and I have a Republican opponent who recently said the only thing standing between Donald Trump and making America great again is Derek Kilmer. So, you're welcome.
I'm sorry.
I'll tell you what, Colin from my team is right there. If you want to help us knock on doors, make calls for these terrific candidates, I invite your participation. Listen, our party's amazing diversity is its strength. What an extraordinary contrast with the Republicans. When I look at my colleagues in the House, there are more men named Jim than there are women Republicans in the House. That's nothing against men named Jim, but that's not good for 2020. That's not good for 1920. As Democrats, our diversity is our strength, but our unity is our power. So let's commit that we will get through this Democratic presidential primary, and then we will be unified as a party. We will work every day to send Donald Trump packing in 2020. In 249 days and 7 hours, we are going to celebrate on election night. Let's get to work. Thank you very much.
Oh, now you cut it off. We got a system. We sometimes have to work on it. Let's see. Representative Smith is not here yet, but he's on his way, so I'm going to turn the microphone over to Devin, who's representing Kim Schreier today, who's traveling.
Hi everyone, my name is Devin. I'm Congresswoman Kim Schreier's political director. We also have our newly hired campaign manager, Chris Costa, with me today. We're much applause for Chris. We're super lucky to have him. The Congresswoman could not be here today, and she is so sorry to miss this, but looks forward to seeing you all in April at your meeting then, and is really looking forward to seeing everyone. She's just so grateful to serve Washington's 8th Congressional District. She's able to serve Washington's 8th Congressional District because of all of you and because of all of your hard work in 2018. I mean, we've been trying to flip this district for decades. Growing up in the 8th Congressional District, I dreamed of having a representative who was not a rubber stamp Republican like Dave Reichert or like Dino Rossi would have been. And because of you, we have a better option. You not only flipped this district blue for the first time in its entire 36-year history, but you also elected the first pediatrician ever elected to Congress. And you elected the only woman doctor in Congress. The only woman doctor. And that's during a time when there are countless attacks from Trump and the Republican Party on women's reproductive rights, on vaccines, on climate, on science, and you elected someone who was an undergrad major in astrophysics and got her MD, and she's bringing that experience to DC. And the leadership is acknowledging that. Speaker Pelosi sees Kim as a rising star and someone who can really be an advocate, not just for her district, but for kids and families who she served for 20 years before she stepped into this new role. So she worked on HR 1, the For the People Act, which Congressman Kilmer mentioned, to get big money out of politics. She also worked on HR 3, the Lower Prescription Drug Costs Bill, specifically as a type 1 diabetic. She knows since she was 16 years old how expensive insulin is and how we need more affordable prescription drugs in the United States of America. Every American should be able to afford the prescription drugs that they need to live happy and healthy lives. On HR 8, the Universal Background Checks Bill, which Congressman Kilmer also mentioned, as a person of science, as a doctor, Kim is a top advocate in the House for getting research dollars from the CDC committed to gun violence research, because she knows that research is how we are going to prove the connection between gun legislation and lowering our gun violence epidemic in the country. So she is hard at work for you every single day. She is so honored to serve in her position. And she knows that it's because of you that she got elected in 2018. She knows that if she has the honor to continue to serve you after 2020 and 2021 and onward, it's going to be because of you. It's going to be because of your hard work. We are hiring a staff. It is finally the election year, and we're kicking into high gear. We have organizers to hire. Like I said, we just hired a campaign manager, and we're building our ground game. We need your support. We need your help. We are in a strong position now, and we are in this position because of you, and we're only going to end up in this position again if we all do everything that we did in 2018, if not more. It's what it's going to take. It's a presidential election year. The White House, the Senate, the House are all at stake, and we can't be complacent. And Kim is not complacent, not for a minute, not for a second, and I just ask that you all keep that in mind as well. She is a frontline member, meaning the DCCC has acknowledged her seat as one of the most vulnerable seats in the entire country. And from the first week she was sworn in, the National Republican Campaign Committee has highlighted her seat as a top target. They are already putting out fake news and fake quotes, misattributing information and spreading lies about her record and what she has said. And so we just need Democrats, we need our friends, we need our community to rally behind her and fight against these attacks, because she is so thrilled to be representing you and really could not be more honored if she would have the honor of continuing to serve you in 2020 and beyond. So with that, I will yield the rest of my time back to Kathy. Thank you so much, Kathy.
Nobody yields time to me. That's just crazy. And just in the nick of time, thank you for being here, Representative Smith. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. I'm very honored to be here and to ask for your support in my re-election campaign coming into this year. This is a crucial year, as you all know, for Democrats, and I'm going to work hard in the 9th District to make sure that I get re-elected. But I think Kim Schreier's race is incredibly important. We're going to be replacing Jenny Heck here shortly. We have a lot of great candidates behind you. I just want to urge all Democrats to keep the enthusiasm up that you had in 2018. Cannot be overstated what was accomplished in 2018. And it happened because of grassroots organizing. Yes, we had good candidates, and the national folks were doing what they were doing, but the real difference was literally tens of millions of people who responded to Donald Trump by getting organized, recruiting candidates, and knocking on doors. I say I'm very jealous of Kim Schreier's race because I knew people who lived in the 8th District who said they had people from Kim's campaign come by like 7 times, okay? And I think they knocked on close to 1 million doors on her behalf. There aren't 1 million doors in the congressional district. So they went back a second and a third time. And that works, that matters. And to contrast that, when I beat Randy Tate way back in the Ilkin days, in 1996, I think we had a decent campaign. But if we could get, like 25 people for a doorbelling rally on the weekend, we were excited. Hundreds showed up for Kim's race. And that happened all across the country. And we had terrific candidates, but it was that grassroots support that made the difference. And it gave us the majority back in the House. And that's made a huge difference. And I'm very proud, for instance, that we held the president accountable and impeached him. Well, whatever the Senate if we hadn't been there in the majority, it would have been all swept under the rug and there would have been no accountability. And you all made that happen. I'm also incredibly proud of the fact that a lot of things were accomplished in this. But we got full paid parental leave for all federal employees. An enormous billion-dollar-plus benefit. And that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't been chairman of the House Armed Services Committee. You may ask yourself the question, what does full paid parental leave have to do with the defense bill? But that's a legislative issue, and we decided to make it part of the defense bill. And on issue after issue, if you want to know what Democrats stand for, look at what we passed in the House. Look at the aggressive controlled costs on prescription drugs that we passed, the gun control we passed, the campaign reform we passed, the environmental protection. Now, Mitch McConnell has killed almost all of them, but we were there to let people know what Democrats stand for, and furthermore, what we can do if we win, if we get control of the Senate, if we elect a president. That's the difference that we can make. And the pledge I want to make to you, shifting back to my own campaign for the moment, is I'm going to be an incredibly aggressive and effective part of that. Yes, I'm absolutely going to take care of the 9th Congressional District. I've spent my whole life there. I grew up in SeaTac. I lived in Tacoma for a while. I've lived in Kent for a while. I lived in Bellevue. These are the people that are most important to me in my life. And I will never stop working hard to make sure that the people of this district are taken care of. But part of taking care of them, I believe, is to put in power a durable, progressive, democratic majority in the House, in the Senate, and in the presidency. And I have been working on campaigns since I was 14 years old. So I say, if there's one thing in life I'm good at, it's winning a political campaign. And I want to take that talent, take my team, incredible group of people who work on your behalf in the 9th District and on my campaign side, and try to build that coalition that is strong enough to win. One of the big messages I want to deliver for you is this is always the most difficult part of a campaign when you're running against president and you don't have an incumbent. Everyone looks at it and says, oh, it's a mess. You know, the candidates are yelling at each other, it's terrible. It'll be fine. Okay? We've got a lot of good candidates. They're going to have a robust debate. Competition is a good thing. At the end of it, we're going to have a nominee. And at the end of it, we're going to get that nominee elected president. So keep working hard for the candidate you like. Keep working hard for the members of Congress. Progressives need more power for all the reasons that you've heard. I appreciate all of your support in the past. I hope I can earn your support in the future. Thank you for the chance.
Oh, that was a good way to start things. My time's up. Okay, so next portion of our forum, just so you know, during the course of meet and greet around the room, I went to each of the candidates who will be sitting up at the DS up here and gave them the pick of a piece of paper. Where's Rebecca? You would have got, because you were last one in, you got the number that was the last one, and it happened to be 6. So, if I could have those candidates step forward and take your place, we would appreciate it. Thank you. And Austin Bierman, Bruce Morris, take your seats. You're the men of the hour. We usually have some code of conduct things we do at our meetings. For example, if you need to have a conversation, go ahead and take it outside so that you don't interrupt the speakers, as well as, like I said, the respect piece. We did let the candidates know that they would have 3 minutes each for opening, 2 minutes each for the question response, and all of the candidates will be answering the same questions as we go through. We'll be rotating who begins, and let's go ahead and call on Marilyn.
All right. Testing. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so thank you all for coming today. We're just going to jump right into introductions. My name is Austin. This is Bruce. Once again, we'll be moderating. So, Marilyn, if you want to go take us away with a 3-minute introduction, go ahead. The floor is yours.
All right. Well, thank you to the Pierce County Dems for having me here today. My name is Marilyn Strickland, and I would have the honor and privilege of serving as the next congressional representative of the 10th District. Now, you all know me probably as Mayor of Tacoma, or City Council member, or even CEO of the Seattle Metro Chamber. But what some of you may not know is my personal story. So I think it's important for me to share with you my family's history, where I come from, and why I want to do this work. So my father joined the Army as a teenager in rural Georgia because he wanted to send money home to his family. He fought in World War II, he fought in the Korean War, and he loved a country that didn't always love him back. He met my mother when he was stationed in Korea in Seoul, and they met. So for those of you who don't know, my father's African American, my mother's Korean. I was born there, and we got stationed back in the United States in Virginia. And we landed in Virginia, my mother, my father, and their 1.5-year-old infant daughter, when it was illegal for them to be married to each other. From that time, we came back here to Fort Lewis, and I am a Tacoma girl. I grew up in the 29th district. I've been in Pierce County most of my life, and this has been my home. I'm a proud graduate of Tacoma Public Schools. Now I say this because you think about why you want to do this work. My parents faced terrible discrimination based on who they were, the fact that they loved each other, the fact that they wanted the same kind of life that everyone else wanted. When I think about the why and what motivates me to run for Congress, during this time, I think about a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. And there are many of them that we love, but this is one that's especially pertinent for me and the why. The true measure of a man, or a woman in this case, is not where she stands in times of comfort and convenience. It's where she stands in times of controversy and trouble. These are controversial times. Instead of retracting to the sidelines, we need leaders who want to step up and participate and fight for affordable housing for people at every age and every stage of their lives, for health care that is accessible, affordable, and equitable, for real solutions to climate change so that we can change our behavior as consumers. Now, as we think about the myriad of issues that are so important, it includes defending and protecting Medicare, and also includes defending a woman's right to choose and making sure that Planned Parenthood is adequately funded. So when we think about the why, that's what inspires me. I'm here to fight for the 10th district. I'm here to make sure that our values are upheld, and it would be my honor and my privilege to be your next congressional representative. If elected, I will be the first African-American woman and the first Korean-American woman in the 230-year history of Congress. Thank you.
We went just a teeny bit.
Thank you. We're going to continue with our second, Fabio. Dolio.
Lifelong problem. I am so happy to be here today. I'm fresh off my campaign announcement this morning, and so excited to hit the ground running here. So I'm Representative Beth Dolio. I serve in the 22nd Legislative District, Olympia, Lacey, Tumwater, North Thurston County. It is the largest legislative district within the 10th, and I've lived in that area for the last 22 years. Just to tell you a little bit about my background, I was raised in a small town in the Midwest. My parents were educators. My dad was a colonel in the Marine Corps, and my grandparents were coal miners. While I was in high school, we were fighting for the Equal Rights Amendment in Illinois, and that is really what sort of taught me that we have to take responsibility for the future that we want. It's a lesson that I've taught my two sons, and it has really guided my career in environmental and climate leadership, housing, and fighting for working families. I'm proud to have been the very first executive director of Washington Conservation Voters. We made environment an issue in our elections. In my work with Climate Solutions, I led efforts to put an emissions cap in place at the federal and state level, and to stop coal and oil trades. And since being elected to the legislature, I've been a leading voice on 100% clean electricity, clean buildings, affordable solar, and making sure workers, disadvantaged communities, tribes, and low-income populations are part of our climate justice solutions. I'm the only Democrat who will bring decades of leadership to do what we're done here in Washington to the other Washington, D.C., to the other Washington, to make the Green New Deal real. I've always stood with organized labor and working people. My work in the legislature to protect organizing rights, improve pay equity, support paid family leave, and secure benefits for first responders is the foundation of what I will bring to you as your Congresswoman. We need members of Congress who support increasing the minimum wage. My goodness, it's been a decade since we've done that. Can you imagine? Universal health care, Medicare for all, and equal pay for equal work. There are so many crises that are facing us. Our housing crisis is just unbelievable. And I have been a strong, proven leader working on housing issues I have a bill that would give local leaders the opportunity to bring resources to their community to meet the housing crisis that we have. So beyond having deep roots in the district, I believe what sets me apart is not only my passion and focus on these and other issues, but my leadership style. It's one thing to share progressive values, it's quite another to put them into action. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Up next is Phil. Take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see so many friendly and familiar faces. I really sort of grew up in this room, in this building. I remember back in 2006 making phone calls in here for Darcy Berger as she was trying to defeat Dave Reichert. So I appreciate that Dr. Schreier finally got the job done there, along with the help of a lot of people in this room. My name is Phil Gardner, and I have had the honor of working with Denny Heck for the last 10 years, serving the people of Washington's 10th Congressional District. And working alongside Denny has been the honor of a lifetime, not just because Denny's been a mentor to me, but because for me, the 10th Congressional District is always where I call home. I grew up in Puyallup, attended Shaw Road and Meeker Elementary, graduated from high school in University Place. I've lived and worked down in Olympia. I'm currently a homeowner in Tacoma's McKinley neighborhood. I've devoted the entirety of my life to service to the people of the 10th Congressional District in one form or another. For the last decade, that's been within the office of Congressman Denny Heck, working as his communications director and press secretary back in Washington, D.C., in the aftermath of the Sandy Hook shooting and the rollout of Obamacare back in 2013 and 2014. And for the last 3 years, it's been as his district director here in the South Sound back home, fighting against the corruption and the misogyny and the racism of this current administration. With Denny, we've really tried and worked tirelessly to build a brighter future for every family who calls our district home. And I've had the opportunity to be a part of all of his major legislative wins for the South Sound over the last decade, including stopping over 70 attempts by Republicans in this administration to repeal the Affordable Care Act and take health insurance away from tens of thousands of people in our district, to building a 21st century infrastructure to power family wage job growth, to supporting our veterans and our military families stationed at Joint Base Lewis McChord, cleaning up the Puget Sound and saving our southern resident orcas, and bringing national attention to our housing crisis and the climate emergency. I think we can all agree that right now our government isn't working for most people, and it's definitely not working for young people. And I am convinced the only way that is going to change is if young people with experience and know-how and a record of service decide to step up and lead in the communities they live in. So while I'm proud of the progress that we made working with Denny over the last 10 years, I'm running for Congress because there is still so much work that needs to be done. If I'm elected, I would be honored and proudly serve you as the first member of Congress anywhere in the United States born in the 1990s. I'd also be Washington State's first openly LGBTQ member of Congress, and I think that representation matters. We need a younger generation in the halls of Congress, not just staffing it, but making decisions and taking power. We need a younger generation to bring a fresh perspective and new faces to DC so we can break the logjam, change the conversation, and finally start to get things done again. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to questions. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to interrupt just real quick. Yes. There are 5 candidates for the 10th and 1 for the 6th. Thank you for asking, Martin. Go ahead.
Christine Reeves.
Thank you, Bruce. Well, thank you to everyone who came out today on a Saturday to engage in their democracy. For those of you that I don't know, my name is Christine Reeves, and I have the honor and the privilege of running to be your next congressperson here in the 10th Congressional District. I'm a Washingtonian born and bred. I grew up in Eastern Washington, the daughter of a single mother who struggled with substance and alcohol abuse issues and mental health challenges. Because of that, I actually spent the first 10 years of my life in and out of foster care. Fortunately, because of strong investments in our social safety net, my mom was able to get it together. But unfortunately, at 16, when my stepdad and my mom split, I ended up homeless. It was because of strong and strategic investments in our social safety net that I can tell you, while I know what it feels like when it seems like the deck is stacked against you, I also know what it feels like when communities come together to take care of each other. It was because of public school educators, my high school English teacher, and my high school counselor, that when I had nowhere else to sleep, they helped put a roof over my head. They made sure that I was able to finish high school and then go on, because of grants and scholarships, to attend Washington State University, where I became the first person in my family to graduate from college. I'm grateful for the investments that our community makes in each other. Because of that great work, I had the opportunity to move to Western Washington, where I've spent the last decade of my life serving the South Puget Sound. I first came here to staff Senator Patty Murray out of the Tacoma office, and I did that for 5 years. And then I got recruited by the Inslee administration and the state to go and become the first director of economic development on behalf of military families and veterans, which I've done for the last 7 years. In 2016, though, I'll tell you, I stepped up for the first time to run for public office because as the mom of a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, I wanted to make sure that every single child in our state had access to high quality education, just like I did. I became the 51st Democrat when I beat the Republican incumbent in that district by 68 votes. I became the 51st Democrat to hold on to the House majority that year to make sure that we could get things like paid family leave and equal pay done, to ensure that we could get progressive priorities like a public health care option and a long-term care trust, to make sure that veterans and seniors could afford to stay in their home by reducing their property taxes. And I can tell you today that it's those same progressive priorities that have been stalled in Congress in Washington, D.C., that have enabled me to step down from the state legislature to step up to run for Congress. Because I'm not worried about whether or not we're going to keep getting progressive priorities done here in this Washington. I'm worried about what we're going to be able to do in the other Washington. So I'm asking all of you to send this working mom to Washington, D.C. to fight for working families. Thank you.
Thank you. And next is Joshua Collins.
So I'm Joshua Collins. I'm 26 years old. That made me the youngest person up here. But I think the important thing about candidates is what they believe in, and what their life experiences are, what they've done. I spent the last 10 years of my life working, learning what it means to work for a living in America, how hard it is to pay your rent, pay for your health insurance, how hard it is to just get clean water. And it's been difficult, and I can talk about that forever and all the things that have been really hard on me. I'm also autistic, and I suffered a lot of injuries in my time as a truck driver and as a various other jobs working at factory line. I basically sold my body to the trucking industry for $20 an hour. I have injuries I'll never recover from, and if we had Medicare for all, then I would have been able to get them treated. If we had just basic social safety nets, I would have been taken care of, and I wouldn't be at this point where I can barely stand up straight, or I have shoulders that barely work, and knees that barely work, and frankly, I've just been beat up by the system my whole life, and I'm tired of it. And I think the representation of the working class in Congress, I think rich people have enough representation there. Most of Congress is lawyers and business people, and I'm a truck driver. I've been to 48 states. I've lived in several states, and I've slept in 48 states. And I don't know, I've seen so much of this country, and I've never met a person who thought the system we have is good, and or thought it was fair that rich people pretty much run everything. People like us don't really have any representation. And I'm running on a platform that includes over 230 policies. I am a staunch supporter of Medicare for all, a radical Green New Deal, one that actually addresses the climate crisis on the scale that's necessary, a living wage for everyone. As a person who made $7.25 an hour in my first job when I was 15, that's still a federal minimum wage. I think that's unacceptable. And I'm also running on social housing. I want to end homelessness. I don't want to just reduce it, and I want to end it. And I want to implement federal rent control and make sure everyone has clean water. I think that's also a big issue. And yeah, I just want to make life easier for working people. I think we really need change. And I'm a good example of that, how I really wish we had change earlier. So, thank you.
Anything else? We have Rebecca Parson. Hi, my name is Rebecca Parson, and I'm running as a Democrat for Washington 6th Congressional District. And I'm running to be the first woman or LGBTQ person ever to represent the seat, and also the first who's ever run for the seat. I am a commissioner on the Tacoma Commission on Disabilities, an organizer with the Tacoma Tenants Organizing Committee. I've served as a volunteer court-appointed special advocate for kids in foster care in Pierce County, as an AmeriCorps volunteer, and as a human rights observer for an indigenous community in Mexico. I have a BA in English and an MFA from Johns Hopkins University. I'm the granddaughter of a U.S. Army colonel and the daughter of a U.S. Foreign Service officer. Because of my dad's job, I grew up moving around a lot. But when I moved to Tacoma, I finally found home. And there's so much that I love about Tacoma and that I love about this district. Although the district has parts that are very different from each other, Aberdeen, Bainbridge, Tacoma, and Neah Bay, these are all places that are very different from each other. We share some common struggles across the district. One is that there's a serious addiction issue across the entire district, and people who want and need help are not receiving it. There are people who are dying waiting in line for drug treatment because they can't get it, and there's nowhere in their county that takes their insurance. There are also people who are dying on the streets because they're homeless. After the Tiki apartment building was bought and everybody in it was evicted so that the developer could double the rents, 2 people who lived in that building have died on the streets. To me as well. The third issue that's really important to me, housing, Medicare for all that would address the addiction epidemic, and the third one is the Green New Deal. For me, that's really important because we only have until 2030 to take massive, huge action. I'm proud to be the only candidate in the race who supports the Green New Deal and who does not take money from big oil. I'm proud to be the only candidate in the race who supports single-payer Medicare for all. Single-payer is in the Washington State Democratic Party platform, and I'm the only candidate who supports it. And I'm also proud to be the only candidate in the race who supports national rent control. I've been endorsed by Our Revolution National, which is the group that Bernie Sanders started after the last election. I've been endorsed by Brand New Congress, which is the group that recruited Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to run for Congress. I've been endorsed by both DSA chapters in my district and by the Washington State Democratic Party's Progressive Caucus. We have raised more money than all of my Democratic opponents, challengers in 2018 combined, despite the fact that the DCCC has blacklisted people from working with me, despite the fact that the Washington State Party has denied me access from using their tool, and despite the fact that the local media has not paid very much attention to the fact that Derek Kilmer has a challenger. So despite the fact that we are doing all of these things,